All right, guys, this is the first podcast of Ran Out of Talent. I'm Joe Zer Jr., and sitting right next to me, helping me out, actually co-hosting, is Greg Gerton. We're going to try to get you through some local racing, get you through some national news, some topics people want to touch on, stuff like that. What we want to do different than other podcasts is a lot of the other podcasts out there are long-winded and you want to shut them off about halfway through. The conversation gets stale, or they're just out there plugging their sponsors. And hey, guess what? We're not sponsored. We're not funded. We're just doing this out of, well, boredom and interest for the hobby, basically. So, Greg, do you got anything to add to that?
No, I think big thing is keeping it on topic and not just listening to people ramble for an hour.
Good rant, though, is always fun.
Yeah, and I'm sure both of us were never known to rant at all. So
no, never. All right, let's start talking about round number 1 for the Super Saturday Electric Series. We held this back early April, 2 weeks ago, actually. It was a fun race. We had about 75 entries. We'll start talking about it with the Sportsman A main. Brad Olson, he was a clear winner of this one. I think we're going to have to graduate him next round. He was up 2.5 laps.
3 seconds faster than everybody else a lap.
Yeah, on the fast lap. We let if they're brand new and their vehicle fits in with one of our classes, we let them run in Sportsman, and he had a Pro 4. But we don't allow A-scale electric buggies just because we couldn't get enough to compensate for the damage they were doing to the track. You know, it wasn't worth it. And we just don't allow monster trucks because, well, monster trucks, man, they just don't belong on a racetrack, in my opinion. That's a nice way of saying it.
It seems like it makes it pretty hard on some of the other guys that are actually out there trying to learn and have fun when you have some of the bigger cars out there.
It is. But, you know, also on the other hand, we had a really good battle through most of that race between Chris Elliott and our series photographer, Nicole Ryder. Chris Elliott, he had a Pro 4 truck too, but he had never been on a track, you know, before that day. And so it's like you let him in there, and he actually held his own pretty well, coming in second place. You know, he made it around he made the loop, and Nicole didn't, basically, and they would have been battling on the last lap too.
I agree. That was a good. It was actually, I watched that race, and it was pretty fun to see the two of them, you know, at their level, being able to still have a race with each other and have fun.
Definitely. And then Karen, she had little problems at the end, but she held her own pretty well, even though coming in fourth. Jew, he has an HPI blitz. He never got started in that one, and he broke it. He just kept breaking it throughout the day. So that's what happened with them. Let's go on to the Pro 2A main. Justin Hazy, him and Gary Huber had a good battle. Justin didn't have the best of luck qualifying. He qualified fourth, but he came in with the win. He had a clean race. Gary had a couple problems with lap traffic. Brad Gobar and Jimmy Paulson battled out pretty good for third and fourth. Hunter Holmberg, he started out, he was leading the pack, but after the third lap, man, he broke. Did you watch that at all?
I missed that one after Nicole finished. I went back and I remember I was trying some tire magic and it didn't work for me.
And I'm kind of bummed out for Ben Sovicol because he had so many problems with the Pro 4, and he TQ'd Pro 2, and he broke that thing, and he never even got off lap 1. I mean, he's working his vehicles, and he's working his kids' vehicles, and his Pro 2 was just dialed. He just never got going.
Do you see a lot of these Pro 2s are the same drivers that are running on the Nitro Series as well?
Jimmy Paulson does sometime. Justin Hazy does. Justin Hazy runs the event Sean puts on. He goes and he helps out and all that, but it's just Justin Hazy, and Jimmy Paulson comes to a few too. But that's about it. Brad Gopar, he's usually an MMR guy. Gary Huber, he works at Jerry's RC in Lino Lakes.
Okay.
And he works that track. They have a track there. They don't really hold races there, but they have a track and all that. But he's there, and he's at 510 too. Ben Silverpool, he's from all the way in Litchfield. So wherever he drives, it's a haul for the Sovacool family.
And he had the wonderful 0-lap finish there. That sucks.
Yeah, that does suck.
So what about, as far as this class, I know we had talked previously about, some of the requirements and the box stock rule versus...
Are you talking Pro 2 or Blinky? I'm talking, the Pro 2 is the two-wheel drive SCT.
Yeah, we were talking about the Pro 2, and I think we were talking about big bores and
No, that was Pro Light.
Pro Light, huh?
Pro Light, that's short course buggy. We'll get into that whole hornet's nest in a little bit here.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's all right though. Now let's go down and talk about 17.5 Blinky stock buggy. Now I'll tell you what, this is a class I'd really like to keep going, but the numbers got to come up. We got 3 pre-registered for the next race. Okay.
Yeah, and we can go ahead and throw a 4th in there. I'll run it to give us another number if we can get another.
So we need one more to keep this going. It's a fun class. Honestly, it was a really good battle between Gary Pana and Jay Campbell. You know, they always battle well together.
Yeah, they even out at. I'm sure they've been doing it for quite a few years.
Oh, yeah.
Now, and
that's why we run a master's class at Starbucks, just so they can go, you know, and it's always fun to watch them.
Yeah. It's always fun when you get 2 people that are so evenly matched.
Yeah. And Blinky Stock Buggy, it's something I would have liked to see. I think it will gain steam. I really do. It's just...
It seems like it's big in other places, so it's one of those. I think it's just getting the people into it and to understand that there is an option.
Yeah, it is a brand new class for my series, and I did announce it on the forum boards, but I announced it on the Facebook page. I don't think it just reached everybody. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll keep going. Drop down to the next day, man. There. Open. It should be Mod Truck A Main. Now that was one hell of a race.
Yeah, we got. I actually was able to take video of this one and post it on Facebook. And
yeah, when I set up the Facebook page for this podcast, I'll post it on there. For most of the race, we had a really good 3-way battle between Chad Lundell, Kendall Welch, and Craig Kruger. And Craig Kruger led a lot of it. And what was awesome was, you know, most race directors would have gotten mad at this, but I thought it was fantastic. Because Craig Kruger, I'm not saying he did not lose his cool one bit, but Craig Kruger is such a level-headed guy. When he's upset, his mannerisms change literally mildly. And I knew he was upset. And the fact that he was upset shows me that my series is no longer just club racing. People are taking it seriously. Because he was blaming something about the marshal being on the bucket.
Okay, yeah, so I saw this, and it wasn't really so much anything with the marshal. He knows he screwed up. He knows It wasn't the marshal's fault. It was just one of those. It was a bad time for it to happen, and when it happened, Chad happened to close the gap and was able to get right back on his bumper.
Yeah.
And then it was one of those, he was frustrated, I think, and it just showed in his driving because he wasn't as smooth and crisp as he was just before that.
Exactly. And after he was done marshalling, he came up to me and apologized like he did something wrong.
Yeah.
He didn't snap at me. He didn't yell at me. No. He goes, I have a suggestion. Can we just please not have a marshal on that bucket? I'm like, dude, you have nothing to apologize about. I mean, I would have been, if I thought a marshal, you know, screwed me out of that, I would have had more than a suggestion to the race director.
Yeah, and it just shows, he's been doing it for a long time and he kept his cool, and it was such a good race between the three of them. And Kendall was right there too.
Oh yeah, no, Kendall, he's, I kind of made a mistake in the beginning of that race when I was announcing it, saying that Chad Lindahl is the premier Minnesota driver for TLR. Well, I think Kendall really shares that with them. The reason I said that is just because Chad races more. See, Kendall's a broke college student. Rex doesn't pay for his stuff anymore. So he does as much as he can. Sometimes he doesn't have the funds, and he's living all the way down in Mankato for college. Yeah. So from Mankato to Foley, that's like got to be a 3-hour drive.
I still remember as I first got into RC, going to the Nitro Series, and that was the year that Kendall just dominated. I think he was putting everybody laps down, not just.
I think my first year announcing for the Nitro Series, he went undefeated.
Yeah.
In 2010 in Buggy, that is. And then I think in 2011, I think Tor won one. Yeah, what happened to that freaking guy? But anyways, Tor won one, and then I think Kendall just dominated after that. I mean, but honestly, I think Kendall is a much better nitro driver than he is an electric driver, but his electric driving's really coming around.
Yeah.
I mean, those are two different animals, nitro and electric.
Yeah, they really are. That instant on with the electric can be a little touchy for some people.
Oh, it can.
It's going to be a fun series to watch the three of them really battle it out. Last year Chad won right at the end.
Yeah, that was actually a half-second championship split in truck between Chris McKenzie and Chad Lindahl. If Chris literally, but that was one comeback. I'll talk about this briefly because it was last season. But that was a comeback that couldn't be taken away from Lindahl. Because in the last main of the last race of the season, Chad popped a ball cup halfway through that main. And he got a quick fix, but he went down 10 seconds or more. And he came back, and it was literally a drag race down the straightaway for the very final. I mean, that was just awesome. And to come back from that deficit just shows you Chad, he stays a whole lot cooler than a lot of other drivers do.
He does tense, but he doesn't show it in his driving.
Exactly.
He somehow can hide it in his driving.
Yeah. Some people just flip the hell out after they have one crash.
Yeah.
And then that's it. And,
the one thing, I mean, you can even see it here looking at the lap times that we got up. Chad isn't always the fastest, and you can see that here. I mean, Kendall had a 14.3 with Chad running 14.5.
Yeah.
Even
a 14.4.
Even winning, Chad had a top 5 of 14.6, and Kendall had a top 5 of 14.5.
Yeah, it's just Chad.
It's consistency. He's
just being a damn robot is what he's doing.
Yeah. So he's pretty much just.
That had to have been the race of the night.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, Pro 4A main. Tim Brown was starting to catch Danny at the end, but it was Danny's race from the start. Danny is he's a J-Con driver and a Viper driver. Tim, he's new, but he got sponsored by Techno.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but he is doing pretty well. He just runs that one class, and he practices it, and he does well with it. And he is starting to catch up. As you can see, he's only 3 seconds back, and I think halfway through that one, Danny almost had Tim lapped down. So Danny got caught in traffic, and Tim settled down, and he drove it. And Gary was right there, too. One comment I'd like to make is Bradley Olson. He's a pretty new driver. He races at Wheel Brokers quite a bit. And he's really starting to come around as a driver. He qualifies well, and for the equipment he's got, I mean, he's got pretty good equipment, but some of it's still a little bit, you can still tell he's a little bit of a beginner, but he just wheels the living crap out of it and puts his truck up to where it needs to be. And he's just a young kid. I don't think he's older than 13 years old. So that'll be cool to have another young kid up there driving. So, yeah, that's about all there is with that.
Yeah, I think in Minnesota, that's, talking about the young kid, we've seen a nice little influx in the last year or two of a younger generation.
And that's what we need.
Yeah.
I mean, 25 years ago when I started, I was young generation, so was Lundahl and all that. And I think between the late 90s and 2006, 2007, there were little kids driving, but they either fell so quick or there weren't as many, and we need that group. We'll talk about two-wheel drive buggy. Yeah, that was Kruger getting his redemption right there. He went out there and he led, and the start of that race, Chad started. Well, we had to take a racer's minute for Chad because his car shut off, and we didn't know what was going on during warm-up. And then the race started, and Chad was right there, and all of a sudden, Chad disappears off the track. Well, it turns out that he had some bad wires going into his speedo wires that go into the receiver were frayed, and they started like touching or something like that, and that was cutting him out.
Nice.
Yeah, so that dropped Chad right out of that one. And it was a pretty good battle between Craig and Kendall throughout that one. But Craig really just had it covered. I mean, Kendall, he only finished 3.5 seconds off of Craig. But, like I said, Craig had it covered. And
it never felt like it was that close, though.
Yeah, after that truck race, Craig wasn't going to make the same damn mistake.
No, he was pretty darn consistent through that buggy run, and he really put it down. I mean, that 25.603, I mean, it was a good run. There wasn't anything there.
He was really consistent in that one.
Look, each run he was dropping it. I mean, you got a top 5, 14.6, top 10, 14.7.
Yeah. Let me tell you, just in Minnesota, making the buggy A main is an accomplishment. I mean, you made it. I think you were Bubble Boy. I think you were the last one who didn't have to bump.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Yeah, you were
8. Yep.
Yeah. Because we take 8 and we bump 2. Danny Williams and Hunter Holmberg were the bump boys in that one. And yeah, that was just a gnarly race all throughout. But yeah, Craig had that one. He's the local, he's one of our Associated drivers, and kid's been sponsored by Associated forever.
Yeah.
I remember back when he was growing up in North Dakota, the bus would drop him off at the track instead of home so he could practice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I know I heard, I think he went to a Worlds once too, right?
Yeah, he went to a Worlds. I don't remember how he did, but to be able to go in the Worlds, I think you got to finish top 10 at the Roar Nationals.
Nice.
Which is, none of us have ever even really come close.
No. Well, yeah, I mean, we got a couple drivers that probably could if they.
Oh yeah, I'm talking mod classes though. You know, yeah. Chad could have back in those days.
Yeah, because he won the stock buggy run.
No, he won stock truck.
Stock truck.
He took second. It was a real good. That was way back in the day. That was back in '96 when they had stock dads. He won truck and took second in buggy, and I made the juniors A main.
Okay.
And yeah, that was bogus because they had Lozy drivers running the juniors A main. They shouldn't have had that, but whatever. But that was another time and date. I mean, it was serious back then, but I don't think there was the intensity back then that we have now. In local races, it's like we're racing for $1 million every week. Which can be fun, but sometimes can be very, very frustrating.
Yeah, it could be more, you know, you gotta wonder the brushless technology, if it gives you more time to actually work on your stuff and pay more attention to the racing, where before you guys spent so much time with batteries and motors.
But I'll tell you what, to me, as an old school racer, and Marshall and I have talked about Marshall Scary, he's our regional associated manager. To me, nothing feels better than a brushed motor. You know what I mean? Marshall likes the feeling of the brushless. To me, the brush motor just feels so comfortable. It's just, because I drove it for so many years before we switched to brushless, and then it does have a different curve and a different feel. And yeah, the motors, they are as serious, but we'll talk about that later on in the cast, because when you're talking stock especially, motors are as serious, but you don't do the maintenance to it. You just buy.
Always have to have the latest and greatest.
Latest, greatest, and you got to have the best balance of everything. But anyways, let's go down to a four-wheel drive buggy. I mean, Marshall, he walked away with it. I mean, he was dialed. Pretty good battle between Joe Sr., my dad, and Clayton Cartluca. Clayton ended up with second in that one. My dad had a bobble at the end of that one. And then I was a lap down from them guys. I ended up in fourth. I'll tell you what, I went from Kyosho back to Associated. And I am digging that B44.2 way more than that Kyosho. And the Kyosho guys make fun of me for saying this phrase. The Kyosho was good, but it wasn't $500 good. And that
$500, aren't they?
No, they're not. No, the B44.2 is $370. And I'll tell you what, stock out of the box, all I did to it was lower the ride height, because they have you starting at like 25 or 26 millimeter ride height.
Really?
Yeah, it's something stupid like that. And you lower it down to 2021 for four-wheel drive mod. And then I went to 2.5 weight heavier in all four corners. And I used the stock piston setup, whatever they told me, and the car works great everywhere. I actually tested it this week at the Moto Dome, and it felt fantastic. And it's just the Kyosho, man. With the pistons, you're plugging holes with JB Weld for the shock pistons, and you're doing this and that and this and that. It just never felt right.
Can't you just buy blank pistons and make your own?
Nope, not with Kyosho. And they have 5 or 6 hole, and what you wanted was a 4 hole.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And another thing that's nice about Associated, the big bore springs are $5 a pair. Actually, I think they're more like $3.50, $4 a pair.
I do like that. I had a couple of Kyosho's big bore springs on the stock.
Kyosho's are $20 a pair. How do they justify that? They can't. It's crap. They say, well, that's Japanese quality. Well, you know what? Guess what? I'll tell you where you could stick your Japanese quality at that price.
Yeah, it makes it hard on the everyday racer, that's for sure.
Yeah, but actually, I want to talk between me and Josh Sinclair. We had a pretty good battle going on, but our battle was between who screwed up last. That was our battle. Josh, he switched from Caster to Schumacher this year. And I'll tell you what, way back in the day, you know, I was sponsored by Schumacher, and that was their one quality product, was their four-wheel drive buggy. Other than that, their two-wheel buggy, I had the original Cougar, and it absolutely didn't work on dirt. As we all know, whatever. I'm not going to go on a rant about that. But the four-wheel drive buggy was quality, and Josh had the new K1, but he didn't have the Pro kit. He had what they call the race kit or whatever. It wasn't the ready to run. But it didn't have the big bores. It didn't have some. I don't even think the chassis was graphite. I think it was more of a fiberglass steel. But I know the Schumacher buggies, man. The four-wheel drive buggies work very well. And I think once he gets that dialed in, I think he's going to be right up there. That was his first race with the thing. And then, you know,
he's put in some time at the track lately. It seems like every race I've gone to now, I've seen him there.
And he's getting his girlfriend into it and all that, and that helps out a lot.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. I tried getting my wife into it, but it's probably better off that way, 'cause man,
mine won't corner. She doesn't mind the idea of racing, but she's just mad about the whole cornering thing. She's like, I don't want to have to corner.
See, mine will corner, but she's got a competitive edge to her, man. You don't want Beth to get competitive, because I think I spend a lot of money now. See, if I start her out in sports, if she starts doing good, I hook her up with the left-handed radio, and she starts doing good, you can forget about making car payments and mortgage, because the rest of the money's going into RC. Not really. I won't say that. but she gets that competitive edge to her that it's freaky.
Yeah.
And she's got a pretty good temper on her too. I mean, it doesn't show normally, but you get that competitive edge to her, and things aren't going right, man. She gets stabbed. So, and then Mike Luxick, he finished 6th with the Durango. Brian Post, normally an honorable guy. This is the first time he's raced off-road in years. He finished 7th. Kelly Roberts, Team Caster 8th. And then Jay Campbell, he owns Jay's RC Park in Starbuck. He finished that one, and then Hash broke on the first lap.
You know, I don't know if he pre-registered at all, but I know I saw Brian Post on Facebook bought a truck.
Yeah, he might not be able to make Rick's. He is talking to me about that. Yeah, he bought a truck. I think even though he had a tough time, I think he had a lot of fun.
Well, that's good. See him do some racing in the summer a little bit.
One thing I had to tell him that was really hard for him, with the B44.2, hitting your brakes equals death in a corner. It pushes like a dump truck. It's weird. Before I put my car on the track, both Josh Ford and Marshall Scary were there, and they both have B44.2s. I ain't even asked for any advice, even though I did later on in the day. The first thing they said, don't hit your brakes. So they both told me at separate times. You can't use your brakes with the car.
Huh.
Your front wheels you can watch your front wheels turned, and you totally cranked full, and you can just watch a car go straight. I'm serious.
That's odd.
It's the character of that car, but once you get used to doing that, the car is fantastic. I actually want to figure out how to get my dad one here, because he doesn't give up. He's got a Kyosho right now.
He likes that car though.
It's upgraded. It's comfortable drive, but it's not. It's comfortable and it's fast, but it's not as fast as it can be. And he's got Schumacher shocks on there. Because I took the shocks off my Cougar, I gave it to him, and I gave full spring sets with it.
Your dad just needs to upgrade his 2-wheel drive buggy first.
Yeah, he's running your stock buggy.
Yeah,
but the good thing is he's not running the Durango anymore.
It is good.
That hindered him all last season. He still blames me for that. I'm like, hey, you made the trade.
Car still looks pretty though.
Yeah,
I still wouldn't mind. Someday I'd like to try. I don't know. I'm a sucker for trying new stuff all the time.
I want you to buy the Durango, and I want you to take out the transmission.
That would be horrible.
That would be the end of it for you right there.
It would.
It was literally like 20 or 25 screws, and the instruction manual was written by a 5-year-old child with a Crayola. But whatever. I mean, they're getting them to work. I mean, look at Jordan Newman.
I see all these updates online all the time, and the cars look so nice.
We'll talk about that later when we get into the RCRAA thing about the updates. But we'll finish talking about SSES with the Pro Light A main. Sam Sovacool, he converted his SCT into a Pro Light, and he qualified second with it. But Luxick top qualified way over everybody, but he had such a rough time that Sam ended up winning it. Sam kept his cool and won it. Hazy was using a renter ride. He was using Zach Van Dalen's Kyosho Pro Light buggy. He never ran the thing really before, except for the night before. He was only allowed, all they had for it was stock tires. Zach only runs the stock tires. I think it was a 13.5 in it. He ended up pulling a second. Jared Moore, this was the first time him racing in our series. He had the Losi buggy that looked pretty good. And then Luxick, man, I don't know. I'll tell you what, he ran in 4-wheel drive modified buggy before that race. And that is really a class shot going from 4-wheel drive modified buggy to a Pro Light buggy. And I think it was just too much for me. He fell to the back. So, but yeah, that basically wraps it up for the Super Saturday Electric Series. Now, the results aren't posted for the MNRC round number 1, but I won't go into such great detail with that. But I do have to say, right off the bat, I made a mistake because I'm the announcer for the MNRC, which most of everybody around here knows. I should have restarted the A-scale nitro buggy A-main. What happened was, and by far, no means is this an excuse, was I was announcing from a different end on the Motodome, and it was cramped and all that, and what I had to do was we had a little makeshift booth going on as an L-shape, two tables hooked together like an L-shape. Well, from there, I could not see a very good clear of the starting grid. So, while I was watching the flagman and all that, I was outside of my little L-shape and hitting the S button, and while I was doing that, after I hit the S button, I turned around and I got back into my little corner, and there was pile-ups. And there was Bradley Olson standing there telling me a restart, but then I had a committee member and a couple other guys saying, why restart? Well, I listened to those other guys, and I should have restarted it, because what happened was, I talked to Seth Van Dalen after the whole day was done. And what happened was, because I didn't know what happened, I didn't see what happened. So how could I restart after I didn't see what happened? I should have been watching more close. But Seth Van Dalen said Josh Ford spun his wheels at the start because Josh TQ'd. And everybody piled up right from the start. And then a couple of guys got away and whatever. But that was, but we'll talk about that.
But in that situation, shouldn't you really rely on what the committee members say?
Yes and no. One thing, Bradley Olson, he's been around the track for a little bit, within the past 6-7 months. And that kid is one stickler for the rules. You know what I mean? He listens to the rules and he'll call you out the second something looks a little odd. And by seeing that pile up in the first corner, I should have said, hey, stop, let's do this again.
You gotta make it through the first corner clean type thing.
Yeah, but when I turned around and looked, it honestly looked like just a bunch of self-inflicted stuff. Because by the time the marshals got to everything and all that, there were one car pileups left. It wasn't a big hog pile. And that's why I restarted. If it was a big hog pile when I turned around, no question, I would have restarted. But what happened to that race was Danny Bartholomew, he's a Novak-sponsored guy. I don't know if he's X-Ray sponsored, but he was running X-Ray buggies. Really good driver from Iowa. He ended up in the lead. Seth Van Dalen worked his way up to second. And what happened there was them two battled it out for a little bit. Seth moves into the lead. He had a crash and a bobble. He stayed calm. And then what happened there was he got tackled. No better way to put it, but he got absolutely tackled by a lap traffic vehicle. I don't know if it was payback from earlier in the race or whatever, but it was a blatant tackle. And after that, Seth lost it. I don't know, at that point, I don't know if he would have been able to regain the ground he had lost, but then eventually he calmed down again, and he ended up second overall, which is pretty damn good in that group of guys. But Danny walked away with that one.
Seth definitely picked it up, and you can tell he's, as he keeps getting older and older, he's just getting fast.
He is. He's just got to deal with that transition between going from running at 5:10 every week to going to nitro. That is a very difficult transition, especially for a young kid. He's 12 years old.
It'll happen with time. He's really, and it's awesome that he's getting the opportunities he is going down to Omaha like he got a chance to do and do some of these big races.
And see him and his dad, when Seth loses his temper a little bit, him and his dad fuel off each other a little bit, and it's just what happens. I mean,
that's part of being competitive and the way they are. And
but I'll tell you this much: Sean's got more patience than my dad had. Because I'll tell you what, I yelled at my dad once the way Seth. Because Seth doesn't yell at Sean. Seth just yells about what happened.
Yeah.
I did that once. I remember I was 13 or 14, and Steve and Chad will tell you this story laughing. My dad, I started yelling like that. My dad grabbed me by the back of the neck, and my mom was there. And he grabbed me by the back of the neck, dragged me out of the pits, brought me to the parking lot, brought me to my mom's car. I'm 13 years old. And at that point, I was like 5'8", 5'9", okay? I swear my feet barely touched the ground. And he put me in the back of the car. And after that, I was like, oh, man. I think he had it in him.
I can't picture your dad doing that at all.
I couldn't either. But that's what happened there. But, yeah. Truggy main, Seth took second in that. He was starting to catch up to Tony Slett. That was a cluster in the beginning, but I watched that beginning a lot closer, and the cluster happened way past the first corner, okay, into the first jump section. And that, we knew that was going to be brutal to start out a race there. Because what it was a double, and it had major lip. You had to take it slow, real slow to make a corner, and kind of, had a backup effect. And created a pile up there. But Tony Sletton got away and never looked back. I mean, he had the truck. Tony won that one, and he won it with force.
Really?
Those Mugen Truggies are looking fantastic. But yeah, that was two big classes. Pro 4, Tony Sletton TQ'd with the Mugen Pro 4, the converted one, and Josh Ford won it overall. Josh Ford, the last main, he had a GoPro on top of his truck. I kind of want to see it because some cool stuff happened. A-scale electric buggy.
He ran around in the main with a GoPro on.
Way up there. I don't think the way he drives, how hard he drives, I don't think he noticed the aerodynamic and weight disadvantage it gives you. Because they make little quarter-sized ones, Associated sells them, that you could put in there and you wouldn't notice. But he had the full GoPro on top, and dude, it was pretty cool. A-scale electric, Danny Bartholomew won that one also with his X-ray. But yeah, it was pretty good. So that was pretty much it. I mean, nothing spectacular. Whatever. Lot of entries. I mean, the racing was great, but I mean, it's like, other than that, one thing I want to talk about is, Nitro Truck and two-wheel drive open, we had to combine them because we had light numbers for both. But what we do is we combine them and then we separate the points later on.
How many did you end up with both?
4. It was 4 Nitro trucks. And it was like 5 two-wheel drive open.
Yeah, so you still weren't even at the 10.
Yeah, and with that track, you needed 8 marshals.
Yeah, it just seems to merge classes like that. You got 2 leaders in different spots of the track.
But I mean, I kind of let them know where they were. It's like, Gosh took last overall, but he was really 4th. He's really getting 4th place points for a Nitro truck. Hopefully we won't have to do that anymore. There are a couple guys that weren't running it. David Ohm wasn't running Nitro truck. Corey Hins wasn't running Nitro truck, et cetera. We were running longer mains. We were running 15-minute electric mains, except for the Pro 4 and the A-scale electric. But the Pro 2, the Pro Light, and the two-wheel drive open were running 15-minute mains. Really made guys think.
But adjust your gearing.
Same with two-wheel drive open. Or two-wheel drive sportsman, I should say. We call it two-wheel drive sportsman now, just in case somebody with a 10-scale nitro truck wants to enter in. It's a lot easier than, last year with nitro, we had nitro sportsman. Well, that would suck to stick a two-wheel drive nitro truck with a bunch of truggies,
Yeah.
So
I think a couple of years ago, you guys just mixed sportsmen all together.
Oh, we did, and that was just awful, man. Well, I mean, we didn't have the sportsman numbers we do now.
Yeah.
We had 20 two-wheel drive sportsmen.
That's good.
And we had 10 four-wheel drive sportsmen. I mean, man, in my series, I wish we could get those numbers for sportsmen. That was just amazing.
Yeah, that would be nice. Way to grow the sport, that's for sure.
Yeah. But anyways, we were running two-wheel drive sportsman 15 minutes too, and that was pretty cool. And Zach Van Dalen, he won that class overall. On the last lap, he could have made another lap. Both me and Seth, I could hear Seth from the pits, and Sean's telling me to tell him to stop. Okay, Sean's upstairs by me. Seth is down in the pits, and all three of us are telling him to stop, stop, stop. And right before the loop, he finally stopped. It just waits until that timer goes off because he had the win locked down.
Yeah.
He just, we were just telling him, stop, just stop, just stop. Because his glitch buster, his spectrum cap broke also throughout that race. And I don't know if it's not fastened and wrapped around his axle, but the spectrum cap, the wires broke. So the last 2-3 minutes he was cutting out a little bit too. That with the weak lipo equals disaster.
Nice.
So, but we finally got him to stop right before the finish line. He stopped and then went across. So, yeah. That's about it for the Nitro Series. 146 entries. So, people say weekend racing's dead. Well, you know what? You quit. We got 2 more to take your place, basically. Because I'll tell you what, most of the people were digging it. And the weather was cold and miserable and wet, and we were indoors. The pits were heated, all that, and everybody had a good time. So.
Well, that's good. I know the Motodome layouts are usually pretty fun.
It was fast and flowing. I took my four-wheel drive modified buggy out there, my B44.2, and it is definitely an A-scale track. This was after, qualifying was done. They hadn't even blown the track off yet. And that buggy was so dialed, I could make everything with it, and it was fun. The problem is with 10-scale buggies on that track, on the way back portions, if you're way on the inside close to the tube, you literally lose your buggy. And then whatever. Because it's just so far back, and Sean does massive elevation changes too, which is cool, especially for A-scale. It's just
hard on the 10 scale.
Yeah, and you can see it with truck too. You can see a 10-scale truck just fine. It's just that little bit lower profile
of a
10-scale buggy is where you lose them. So yeah. So another quick announcement I want to make is about this RCRAA situation. There's been a lot of controversy about it. And, okay, I'll tell you what. They have races on RC sign-up that you actually pay money for. They're all on the same date, which is funky, all at the same place. I think they're on some college campuses where they're saying they're holding the race. It's just odd. And it was announced amidst of the outrage of the Roar D3.5 scandal. Y'all know about that. We won't go into that. But it's a waste of our time. Okay, so if it is legit, which I don't think it is, and a lot of us don't think it is, they are not IFMAR affiliated. So if they hold a national, it means absolutely nothing because you are not going to make it to the world through them. But what we really think it is a guy named Aaron Mortensen. He is the scammer in RC. What he does is he creates these fake RC companies, and he creates these must-have products, okay? And he did and he comes up with these pictures, these Photoshop pictures of like a +8 Durango 210 chassis.
Oh, was that by him?
Yeah.
Wasn't that on like Live RC or?
No, I don't know if that particular one.
Was it on RC Tech?
But no, he does get people to cover his stuff. He's done this with 2 different companies.
Really?
And he had this charger on his webpage with all these outrageous like Bluetooth claims and stuff. And what he does is he collects your money and then he disappears. But the guy's name is Aaron Mortensen. And allegedly, I'm not saying this because it's not 100% proven, but allegedly he's behind this, and the RCRAA screen name is suspended on RC Tech. And they never said anything offensive, so there's something a little funny behind there. And they can track your IP address to see where you're from, and so even if you're thinking about this RCRAA situation, because a lot of us on Facebook like the page RC Life page, which the RC Life page is really good. It's a really good thing, but they've talked about it in depth, and they're kind of on the give them a chance boat, and I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I'm saying just leave them alone, because you know what? Let's say they are legit. Not IFMAR affiliated, right in the toilet they go. Because they want to have a Roar type deal, but you don't have the proper affiliations.
Yeah, but don't you have to start somewhere before you could get those affiliations?
Okay, when this started happening, just jokingly, I kind of wanted to do something. You know me. I see a problem, and I see a way things can be done differently. And I kind of jokingly said something, but in my head, I never said anything to anybody. I thought about it seriously. And to do something like that, before you start, you would need the IFMAR affiliation. You would need it right away.
Yeah, but how do you gain access to an IFMAR affiliation? Wouldn't you need to have something in place before they would consider you?
Maybe. But, and again, that's where I was kind of like, right when RCRAA announced, I'm like, okay, we'll see where this goes situation. But then they're kind of affiliated with this Aaron Mortensen character, if not Aaron Mortensen himself. That's where it's like, leave them alone. The RC Life people are good people, but that's the one suggestion they had, I would say, is stay away from. But yeah,
where are these races being held? You said college campus.
You know, it's like their addresses on RC sign up. Yeah, it's all one college campus. And it doesn't even make sense.
So where's the next race?
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
I mean, you can Google it and all that. It just seems way too fishy for me. And you know what? If they get a couple races under their belt, hell yeah, go for it. But right now, I want to see them hold a race first. I want to see them hold 2 to 3 races first. And then if they start out like a series like mine, that's cool. And if they turn themselves into a governing body, that's cool too. But right now, and I've talked to some very, we'll say, prominent people in the hobby. They just say big frickin' scams. Just stay away. So that's enough on that. All right, situation I wanted to get into is new RC car companies, new fly-by-night RC companies. This is another topic I wanted to get into here tonight. Should we keep give them a chance? Or should we stick with Losi, AE, and Kyosho? Venom came out with a buggy. There's a company out there called Team C. Yeah, and there's this, all of a sudden today, Live RC announces this Hobby Pro USA thing. I've never even heard of Hobby Pro.
You know, every car I have is associated.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, you know, I wouldn't say necessarily I'm a fanboy, but it kind of turned into I liked the car, I liked the way it felt, I've tried a bunch of different cars. But here's the thing with the new products. I think right now, in order to get anything new, in order to get some advancements, I think you got to have something that pushes the top companies.
Yeah. First off, you need that driver, which on the on-road side, Team ARC is doing it correctly. With Jock Cyril, because now they got a national champion or two under their belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's fine as far as trying to grow a company, but in order to have something new, I think we need something that's not just the standard copy, and that's where a couple years ago you got the X Factory cars.
Yeah.
And they came out mid-motor and everything's different. Yeah. You know, and you know, never met a better group of guys when we went out to that.
Oh,
that
yeah. And they're awesome guys.
Just great guys, and
they'll bend over backwards to help you, too.
They will. Yeah, they wanted, I remember I had one at the time, and I remember Paul telling me, I mean, he gave me like his personal email, and he's just sending me emails back and forth for setups. And, you know, so.
And that new X Factory, they've been talking about it, and they're really starting to actually get that mid-motor to work on dirt. Not just high traction dirt, but your average black dirt track.
I think it's going to happen. I think it's just taking time because they needed to come up with a setup that wasn't the same as the two-wheel drive.
Yep, I like that they've been taking the time. That's another thing that shows their commitment. But okay, now let's talk about Team C for a second. I don't know if you know anything about Team C. Well, okay, their Pro 4 truck is the OFNA. It's an OFNA copy, period. It's OFNA. And then they've come out with a two-wheel drive buggy. I think they got a stadium truck out or something, too. And Justin Hazy was talking to him about sponsorship because he's got a Pro 4 truck with him. And one thing that bothered me about them is they said, have your local hobby shop carry our full product line, and then we'll sponsor you. What is that crap? I mean...
Here's the thing. When you look at a sponsorship, your sponsorship is based solely around can you sell their product.
Oh, definitely.
And that's key.
But you get a hobby shop to commit $20,000 so you can get a 50%.
It's not going to cost $20,000. It'd probably be $1,000.
Well, no, if they have 3 vehicles out there, plus full part line to cover, it might not be that much. Okay, we'll even say the low end of the spectrum, $5,000.
I've overheard things before with a company that was as limited as $1,000, and they considered that. And so say that happened.
Yep.
It's more though. I think. The problem is if they don't have a hobby shop here, they're going to say, well, if we don't sell any cars up there, there's no reason to sponsor you.
But then on the other hand, what reason does Justin have to promote their product? See, I'm not sponsored, and I don't run a sticker on my car. I might run a Live RC sticker on my car, and one of these days when I come out with Super Saturday Electric Series vinyl, I'll run that, et cetera, et cetera. But, and I'll talk up a car if it's good.
And I think we all will. I think that's part of racing, and that's why you see so many drivers.
Personally, I won't go into a company like Team C unless I have some serious incentive.
And that would be an issue, especially because you're taking a lot of risk there. You're having to hold on to all the parts because, for the same example, the hobby shop doesn't have them. Yeah,
you got to have all the parts for one, and for two, you're out on an island by yourself. Yeah. You got to be a master wrench because you're not because you know you could go up to Marshall Scary he's your team associated guy, but you know what? He'll help out a Lowsy guy and all that, but you come up to him with the Team C car, and you say, I'm loose, he'll be like, psh, I don't know where to help you. Where do I start with this thing?
He'd still try and help you.
He'll still try to help, and he'll try to go out on that island with you, but he'll only help you so far. And it's kind of like that, O'Donnell car.
I had Marshall stay after and try and help me tune a nitro motor once for 2 hours.
He did that with me before too. I bought a Associated car from, I bought an Associated Nitro buggy from Greg Amendola, his original RC8. And I remember it had a Works V3 motor in it, but it was modified by Fiorni, or whatever they're called. It just made it more expensive. And what a piece of crap motor that was. And you know what he ended up doing? He said, take that stupid thing out of your car. I have a OS Speed sitting in my box for you. Put that in, and guess what? He was right. And I barely had to touch the tune on there. Just a tick here or there. And that's what he'll do. He'll take something out of his box and say, you know what? That's stupid. Run this.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, it is. And eventually, if he didn't get it for free, if it's something that he had to pay for out of his own pocket, eventually he'll make you pay for it, or he'll get it back from you. And it's not a rush, but he will not hesitate to really get you hooked up. But when you're on a Team C to where he doesn't have those kinds of parts or those kinds of resources, or if you're on this new Hobby Pro, or let's say the new Venom buggy, and they got big bore shocks, they got your graphite kits, they have all that for that Venom buggy, you know? How's he gonna help you? How's Chad Lindahl gonna help you? How are any of these guys that are willing to help you? If you run their product, they're willing to go to the ends of the earth with you. How are they going to help you with this?
Yeah, you know, it's challenging, and that's where I think some of these types and brands, you almost got to wonder if the price point's not right to help get people into the hobby.
Oh yeah, their stuff's plenty cheap too.
And that's more of it. If you can get somebody that's a sportsman, and they're trying to get into the hobby, and they're just trying to learn.
Yep.
I think it still serves a purpose. So the fact that a bunch of companies are spawning out, I don't think it's taking away from the big companies. I personally don't believe that we're losing anything by having them come in.
Here's another question for you, though. If you buy their stuff and you commit to their product, who says that they're going to be there tomorrow?
No, they're not. That's a risk you're taking.
That's a tough pill to swallow.
It's a risk you're taking, and that's where, you know, you mentioned earlier somebody was looking into the sponsorship, and it's a risk for him as well. It's not just for the company, and that company, if they can promote their product here, you know, one of the things I've found a lot of people are doing is like sponsoring races.
Yeah.
You know, you hear a lot, Viper.
Yeah.
Sponsoring all kinds of stuff in Minnesota. And because of that, there's a lot more Viper products in Minnesota.
Exactly. And you know, they sponsor the correct people. But you know what? They don't say you gotta sell this much product to be sponsored by us all.
No, and I know Dave Beam, has been a big part of, I think some of that
stuff. I think
stuff.
he's the regional manager.
Yeah, and he does a good job at not trying to be overly pushy. He just he kind of.
But he won't sponsor anybody, which is a cool thing.
Yeah.
That's one thing I dislike about some of these companies out there. If you send them a resume, they'll sponsor you, and all they're doing is they're getting you to be their guaranteed customer for the year.
The discount is very minimal.
Yeah, it is. It really is. That's one thing about Schumacher, I gotta say, is when I was sponsored by him, it was a 30% discount, but the deal was that 30% went a lot farther than 50% with a lot of the other companies.
So because it was a Schumacher, it only cost $800?
I think honestly I got at the time it was a Schumacher Cat S2. I think I picked that up for $200, that four-wheel drive buggy, which is very excellent price for a four-wheel drive buggy. And the parts were very reasonable.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. But, and that was a resume sponsorship, too. It's not like back in the day when, I think Pops Losey sponsored Lundahl originally. They saw him at a race and he sponsored him. That, I don't think, happens very much anymore. I think they send them their resume, they get sponsored, and they get their bump ups and sponsorships by their results afterwards.
Yeah, but how many people now are racing for long periods of time without somebody seeing them? That's part of it, too.
Yeah.
Everybody's noticed a lot quicker.
Yeah, there's been a couple people that's actually come up to me, I won't say who, to stop, not embarrass them or the company. They're like, I like what you're doing with the hobby and all that. Would you like to be sponsored? And these were by decent companies, people coming up to me, and I'm like, no. And it's not because of my driving, but it's because, I have my own hobby series. Yeah. I'm sponsored for MNRC, and I try to be as nice and friendly and sunshiny as possible.
Sure.
Yeah. But anyways, it's one of those things. I just don't want it. I don't want to be committed. Because you know what? Let's say I'm with company A, and then company B comes out with something that blows them out of the water. I don't want to be stuck.
Yeah, you have to be committed to that company.
I'm willing to pay full price to not be stuck.
Yeah. It just depends on the situation you're in and the company probably that's asking too. And
yeah, that's true. But I don't know. And these companies that are out now, I don't know if we should. It's one of those things. I want to see them. The reason I want to see them spend the money on a national driver is because it shows they're serious.
But they may not have that money yet.
Well, guess what? Then they're not serious competitors yet.
But not everybody. Well, true, but not everybody can start a company from scratch. I mean, not everybody has.
I don't know. I don't know where ARC comes from on the on-road side. I don't know if they're a spawn off anything else. I know Viper's their U.S. distributor or whatever. Let me tell you, that was a big mistake Viper made by dropping Cyril. I've heard third-hand information about that, but we won't go into why Viper's not with Cyril anymore. But Cyril is still with ARC. And that was a smart thing they did right there, is they went in there and they paid him the money, and by hiring a national driver like that, you're not only getting results, and you're not only getting national exposure, but you're getting his engineering expertise in there. He's really saying, you really should take this and make it into this, and do this with this part and that with that part. And I've done this and it makes it better, So, let's say a year to fly him around the country is going to cost you $15,000. And let's say conservatively his wage is $30,000.
I think your numbers are very, very low.
Yeah, exactly. And on the high end, you could, let's say low end you're looking at $45,000. Let's say high end you're looking at $120,000. And there's a median in there. If the company's not willing to put that in there, then it's like, why even bother? And that's what really impressed me with X Factory is when they put the money into Kinwald.
And they did, and
they eventually had to drop them to do more with their company, to take that money and do more. But Kinwald gave them a lot of good engineering information. See, Kinwald's not the top driver anymore, but his engineering information is absolutely priceless.
It's set up. I mean, that's one thing. Anytime you ever look at a Kinwald car, there's always something different.
Yeah.
Every time.
And you know what? I bet you that new X Factory X60 Cubed, I bet there's a lot of Kinwald-inspired stuff. Even though Kinwald hasn't been with them for, a good year and a half, 2 years?
I mean, I'm sure he's still...
I don't think he really helps them out anymore, but I think he helped them out so much when he was
It carries over.
It carried over.
It's a style now, almost.
Yeah, exactly.
He was with them so much when they started. Yeah, I could see that.
So basically now, with these new companies, they got to be willing to do that.
To be considered really a big company, I guess, yes.
Yeah. And Venom,
Venom's the different situation, though. Venom already got the money.
Yeah, they're a battery company, and they have their Chinese chargers or whatever. Let me tell you, Venom, they're a great company to get somebody started into RC. Sean's got them for rent-a-rides, all that, F510 Raceway. But I didn't
even know they did that.
Yeah. Sean does a rent-a-ride. He's got a Slash and he's got the Venom buggy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I haven't seen Venoms. They have all the hop-ups for their buggy to make it a quote-unquote pro buggy, but I've never seen one of their pro buggies go. All of Sean's are the ready-to-run deals.
Huh. I know. Here's the thing with Venom. I know they're sponsoring a race locally here.
Yeah, they're sponsoring a class this week.
A class, not even a race. Yep.
Yeah.
And they're giving away a free buggy.
Yep.
To the winner, and that's, to me, that's a good.
Dude, that's great promotion.
Yeah, it's good promotion.
Well, chances are the person's going to sell it on eBay, but hey, just maybe
if you're good enough to win that class, you probably already have a car you're happy with.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? Maybe they'll put it together.
You never know that, or maybe it still ends up local.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times I know at the World of Wheels, everybody that wins a car there, there's always somebody offering them a check for that car.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I put my money in for the big ticket item, and I think was it a B4.2?
I think it was this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because last year it was a 22 car.
I was going to give that to my dad if I were to win. But also, there was there's a ready-to-run vehicle that they had with your regular tickets.
Okay.
I forget what it was.
Don't remember.
It was some kind of a truck. Honestly, what I was going to do is I was just going to hand that to a kid in the crowd.
That would have been a fun way to do it.
You know what? The $150 I would have gotten off eBay, okay, that kind of could have carried on. But you know what? I would have gotten a whole lot more enjoyment, for one, giving it to a kid, and for two, you know what? That could really spawn a serious race.
It could. That would be one way to get people in.
It's a small chance it would have spawned a serious racer, but it's a chance.
We get a lot of sponsorship for that race. I know Gary and everybody up in Duluth does a great job getting that going. But it would be nice to see more of a drive from the sponsors at the race.
Yeah.
Because it's such a public display.
Yeah.
When you get a car show like that, and you're getting the almost 200 entries turnout.
Yeah.
It's such a good place for sponsors to be, but it seems like Minnesota in general, we don't ever have the sponsors come in.
Yeah.
We have people sponsor the races, but it seems like they never show up.
On the on-road side, and this is the on-road side, just talking stock, we got national winners amongst us.
I mean, you got the TQ from the Birds, and Tony Block was at the top.
Yeah, Tony Block's there.
Bowman's always there.
But okay, you talk about modified now. We have one modified, 12-scale modified, and you only have one driver that shows up that can really drive it, and that's Mitch Witterman. And then the rest are just trying to hold on to their own balls, trying to...
You got a handful, though, they're getting better.
But they're not there, and they're not...
They're not.
Although Mitch is only A-main.
It was still a good race at the World of Wheels this year for the A-main.
Honestly,
it was decent. They were close.
Yeah, okay.
But it wasn't.
But it's that last 3-minute fade is where it turns. That shows who can really drive it and who can't.
But even Mitch at that level,
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like he's doing what he did 2-3 years ago.
Well, because he's not racing nearly as much.
Yeah.
But that's the thing too. But that's one point. On the modified national level, we're
not at the top.
main drivers, if not worse.
Yeah, we're not at the top. I agree.
So that's why we're not carrying those big drivers. But I mean, we do have fantastic racing here, great battles, all that. And you know what? It would be cool to kind of see like Lemieux come and race with us and all that.
Well, and next year I think we got a better chance now with the World GT class.
Yeah.
Where we got
that's
the
a
same
revival.
we have the same level of drivers from the stock class that are doing just as well in the World GT.
That's a revival I didn't think I would see happen. But the thing about that is he took away so many stupid rules. When it was first made, you could only run one body, okay? And it was 10.5 open speed controller. Now, the body rules open to any legal World GT body. You can run any tire manufacturer as long as it's a proper legal World GT tire. And it's 13.5 blinky. Not enough can be said about that blinky. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does make things a little nicer, but the 13.5 it's just fast enough that I think it gets rid of, like, stock. You always got to have the latest, greatest.
But you know what really... Okay, at Torque, we're talking about doing a 10.5 class, and the reason we're talking about doing it was to keep it small. We don't want... Okay...
You don't want just anybody to drive.
Yeah. Okay, we're not the best drivers who created that class at Torque, but we didn't want certain people, because we're people getting away from the USVTA crowd.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're sick of the hack jobs, because USVTA, you get big enough numbers and separate the proper groups, the racing's fantastic. But we don't have that that big of numbers.
Except for the World of Wheels this year.
Yeah, the World of Wheels.
That was just amazing.
That was frustrating.
We had so many good VTA drivers there, and it was such a horrible race.
Yeah.
It was just crashing everywhere.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
It was one of those, I've always thought that our VTA racing in Minnesota has been phenomenal for years.
Yeah.
And it was one of those where you'd watch the YouTube videos of some of the other states, like, I don't know why we never drive like that. But that race showed me completely wrong, because we absolutely looked like a hack job every time.
Yeah. And you know, that's one thing we noticed about 12 scale stock when it was me, Brian Post, Anthony Z. Stratton, and there's a couple others in that group, and we raced together. Wade was good. Whatever. We'll keep going. I could keep going. It was fun. And we raced well together. And we didn't hack each other. And we respected each other. And we were all racing VTA too. And we noticed we didn't have that chemistry in VTA. We had that chemistry with each other. But then you get the jammer cars, the lap cars, the guys that are up there, but were absolutely goddamn hacks. That don't know how to let off the throttle. They used your back bumper as their brakes. And that's when we said, okay, look, we got to do something.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Unfortunately, at the club level, you seem to run into that a lot. And
yeah.
Part of I'm learning myself. The last couple months, I had gotten kind of frustrated at times, and I'm just learning that you got to take it as a learning experience, and you have to.
And it's just
a different mindset to the club racing
than
you do, say, we travel to some of the big races.
Yep.
A different mindset than you do when you go there.
Yep.
And it's just, unfortunately, until you get some of the better A mains, you don't have that. But at some of the A mains, you're going to have a disparity in quality between your top 5 and the bottom 5.
Yep. You know what? I want to change gears a little bit into this new Trinity motor, this RevTech Kill Shot.
The Kill Shot, yeah.
Now, this is the RevTech motor, And what they did was they made it unlimited timing. And they did a couple other little things to it.
I don't see a problem with that. You should be able to have... who said that we had to have a limited amount of timing? Was it a rule?
It was in the brush chase. And that's one thing I dislike about this new brushless deal.
Okay, but they've already legalized that.
But you can easily make it illegal just as easily as you can say F you to the D3.5 is what Roar did.
Okay, so that's the same change. So if they're going to say F you to the D3.5, then they might as well turn around and just make it a locked can.
That's what I want. That's what a lot of people want in stock racing. Make the timing locked.
So we took away all the timing from the Speedos, and now you're going to take away all the timing in the motor.
Pure motor. It's because, okay, to be competitive in stock racing, let's not kid ourselves. You're buying rotors anyways. You're buying stators anyways. You know what I mean? So you're balancing this out. So it would just be a pure motor race. So you wouldn't have to do that guess with gearing mixed with timing thing.
Yeah, at that point, I think we've already gotten it to the level that we're going to...
But we're not. We're not. People forget we're at the infancy stage still in the brushless. We're going into the toddler stage is what I like to call it.
The only way that you're going to make it...
Brushless is so young, Greg.
It is, but what you're going to... You're trying to... And I love spec racing. Spec racing to me is where it's at. But unfortunately, I hate the money game, which is part of that racing.
Yeah, stock racing, no matter what you do, is money game. People come up to me and bitch, and they say, oh, you're buying 10 motors. You did that in the brush days, too. The difference is a brushed stock motor was $35, $40. With a new brushless motor with a proper rotor, and it's $75, $80, $90. Or you buy the motor for $75 and then separately buy the $35 rotor.
Yeah, which is the route I've gone in the past.
Yeah, we've all gone that route.
So,
that's the way it's always been, and it's the way it's always going to be. But you got to look at it this way. Are you really competitive enough to be up there for one, and for two, you watch spec stock racing A-mains at the highest level, it's phenomenal.
Oh, it's great racing, and we've got some of the best here in Minnesota, and it's made it a lot of fun to watch. I mean,
yeah.
We watched, Tony Block, Mitch, and John at the wheels, and it was phenomenal. Even with a crash, John caught all the way back up.
Yeah. Well, John, yeah. He'll tell you all day long Associated costed him the race at the Birds. he was stopped by Team Associated.
And I feel so bad because he has put so much effort into stock 12 scale.
He has an amazing amount, and he'll help you out if you need it.
And he does. He's really done a great job at helping stock racing in general in Minnesota where he can.
Here's what I'm getting at. Is this kill shot faster than the D3.5?
It's going to have to be. They wouldn't release it if it wasn't.
But it's Roar legal.
It still wouldn't release it if it wasn't. They would have found that. So say
this is just your plain
say by chance.
Yeah.
That the wire gauge was slightly different.
Okay.
By chance, just assume that.
Yep.
They will have found a way to make that motor faster with regular wire gauge than what that D3.5 was, or they would not release it.
Yeah, that's true. But they're still making... I noticed, I looked on the webpage today, they are still making the D3.5, the illegal one.
It's not illegal.
Well, it's not. It's Roar illegal. And that's...
But nobody's on... what good is Roar if nobody follows it?
Yeah, and this is the question I have. This is going to make that stock motor war 10 times more, I won't say harder, but confusing. First off, what motor do you choose now?
Well, you always choose the latest and greatest if you're really up at that level.
But is this truly the latest and greatest? It is the RevTech Stators.
Let's put it this way. If you're at a race where it matters,
yeah,
and you're in the A main,
Yeah.
you're more than likely sponsored. So you have the latest and greatest, so it doesn't matter.
You do.
The part that it's hurting is the hobbyist.
It is. No, you're right, it is. But you know what? It's just one of those things. I don't know if it's truly better. Because you know what? Here's a good example. The Duo 2 was a piece of crap in comparison to the Duo 1. But they came out with it anyways. They knew what they had.
The Duo 2 was I think it was a bigger change. I remember, I still have a Duo 1 somewhere around here. And
yeah, you do. I saw it the other day.
Yeah, and it's still to this day, a very good
motor. That Duo 1 is an absolute monster.
It is. The Duo 2, I think, was that change where we just lost all the timing in the motor, or in the speedo.
Yep.
And I don't think I would blame that on the motor as much as it was a change in stock racing.
Yeah. And then the Duo 3 came out.
And that was completely different.
It was different, but it was
so much torquier.
But in comparisons, it was only still equal to the Duo 1. That all depends on how you tuned it, geared it.
Well, and then they came out with the open end bells, and everybody's...
Yeah, that's another question. That's another cool thing about the new kill shot is the open end bell.
And so the 3.5 came with that open end bell, too.
Yeah. But that's pretty cool. Yeah, but I don't know.
It has to be faster.
Here's the question. Do you do a comparison test?
It really doesn't matter, though.
Yeah.
Because if technically everyone that's fast is driving the 3.5, then everybody's going to switch to the 3.5. And the people that don't, probably, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true. And, stock buggy, off-road racing, let's switch gears from on-road, because we're in an off-road season now.
Sure.
Yeah, I bet we'll have an answer by August in this whole motor debacle.
I'm sure. I'm planning, I guess personally, at going to trackside again, and every year I want to run stock buggy. And I intend on having whatever the latest, greatest is.
But I was talking to some people from trackside, and the Reedy Sonic 17.5 can keep up just fine with the D3.5. Because you're dealing with traction issues then. In stock
certain drivers, last year there were a few people that were running the other motors. I think most people were running the 3.5s.
Yeah.
I know Bowman was, and he won it.
Yeah.
And he had, the 3.5 in there.
Here's another question for you. What the hell are all these other motor manufacturers doing? Nobody in the past, we'll go back to the brush days. In the past 15 years, can touch Trinity in the stock. Why is that? Trinity has cornered the market in stock.
Indeed. I mean, they got the biggest... They have the most money, I think, really behind.
Yeah.
They've got the money to spend on the R&D to keep the money coming in.
Yeah, that's true. And they sell to all the mom and pop motor guys like Phantom, EA Motorsports. Trinity sells to them too.
And I think
so they're getting money from there also.
But that's probably part of it. I mean, the Trinity motors in general, it seems like they're cheaper.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, that those mom and pop organizations are getting them cheaper yet.
Yep.
Selling them for a profit too.
I'll tell you what, nobody's looking to tune a Sure Speed motor.
Yeah. So
come on, I had to stick it in there.
So either way, though, you get to those Trinity motors, I think the price point is really driven home. I know I ran ballistic motors for a while, but the performance in off-road, you could get away with it.
Yep.
In on-road, it's not there.
Novak has come out. Novak has come out with another motor called the Vulcan, and they're advertising it as the biggest wire that Roar will allow. So Novak's always been serious, but I think they're really getting serious into this motor. You got to remember, Novak is semi-new to motors, and they just started it with the brushless gig. Because back in the day, Novak has been mainly a speed controller and maybe a receiver company too. Until the brushless deal came out way, way, way back in the day, they had servos. And they had chargers for the NIM stuff, whatever. They might even have LiPo chargers, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, Novak has that kind of funny behind them that I would really watch for. Because if they figure that out too, they might have something that can run with Trinity.
You know, I think Novak was able to jump in, I know, with the 25.5 and some of these spec motors.
They cornered that market quick.
and that's going to help them going forward.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you got more R&D probably going into those products.
Just about everywhere in the country that runs VTA.
Yeah.
And you know what? They're huge in the rock crawler scene, too.
They are. I remember hearing about that.
And that money can also be dumped into the race program. So you know what? I would be watching out for that Novak Vulcan this year. They might be a surprise contender. Maybe.
That'd be good. I mean, it's always nice when you have competition.
It's a brand new motor, and I don't know dick about it.
Yeah. It's always good to have the competition.
It's not only competition, it's just choice, too.
Yeah.
It's always good to have a choice. Say, you know what? Because I've been at places where some tracks this motor works better, other tracks this one works better. You know? That was the deal between, at the end of the brush days, you had the blue can motor, you had the black can motor, you had the silver can motor, and you had the monster horsepower motor. You had those 4 motors, and you needed a fast one of each in your box to be fast at a particular race.
I'm so glad we don't do that.
Once you had it figured out, it was pretty good. You know what? You didn't even need a dyno. You needed a Pulsar 2 to rev it up and to see what the amps would come in at. And then you know what? The amps came in low. You handed that motor to a novice kid. Seriously, because it was no good to you.
You know, I guess it's okay. We could all go back to brushed, and I'll run one class.
Yeah, modify.
but that's what you're stuck with. But so much time you're soldering motors in and out every run.
What bummed me out was when it switched from brush to brushless. Modified got cool. Do you remember did you come in early enough to see the Revolution motors? To where instead of the brushes going in side to side, they went in straight down. And the contacts, oh dude, it was...
No, I didn't see those.
Smoothest goddamn modified motor.
I had brushed motors. I remember having the ones with Kinwald on them.
Oh yeah.
Dirtnator.
Yeah, the Dirt.
Yeah.
But after who made them? Peak Performance made these motors, and they were just cool. I don't remember ever a stock one. I don't even know if they even made a stock one. But if you're running modified, this was the very, very end of the brush days. They were frickin' awesome. And they were more expensive. I remember they were $50, $55 for a motor, but it was so worth it. Because the power band was so different, but how smooth they were was just unreal. So yeah, speaking of blinking and all that, let's talk about the new Tekin Gen 2 RS. You know what? Is it too little too late? Did they screw around with the same hardware for too long while everybody was improving? Because here's what I'm looking at. The last year, year and a half, everybody's getting away. They're switching to the Reedy Flow. They're switching to the Hobby Wing 3.1. You know, the Rhine R10. You got some fantastic speed controllers coming out. And then all of a sudden, Tekin, all they're doing is screwing around with the RS and just updating software. You know what? I want new hardware. Now we're expected to go back. And if we're going by their timeline, they're not going to come out with anything new until 2020. Literally.
You know, I'm okay with that as long as their product is still the best. And I don't always like seeing a new product every year. And I can agree with them updating by software if their hardware is at the best.
See, their hardware was not at the best anymore, and they absolutely had to come out with something.
It wasn't because of the way racing changed. Obviously, it dominated the market when we were open speedo.
Yep.
And everyone had a Tekin. Five.
Oh, yeah. I think I have one left, but yeah, at one point I was up there in numbers too.
Yeah, and it's like, I had one in every car.
Yeah.
And they were at that right price point.
Yeah.
They were good to get for pretty much anyone.
Yeah.
And you could do anything with it. You could run 1S, you could run 2S, you could really do pretty much anything.
Yeah.
But when the stock racing went away from open speedo,
yep.
I think personally I feel they needed to address that quicker.
Yeah. And we talked about this a couple different ways. Their blinky is not the same blinky that the Hobby Wing's getting. The Hobby Wing is Roar approved, but it seems like Hobby Wing is getting a touch more.
I've heard before, and I don't know all the specifics behind it, but I've heard that every speedo has timing in it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it's one of those, you almost gotta wonder if somehow some of these speedos are getting just that hair timing in there, but they're getting it approved. And again, it's how close is Roar checking these products, and they're getting approved. Once you're approved, then how do you go back and renege on it? And
they do though.
They did once.
Yeah, you're correct. Well, you're correct. They did once. Well, we'll be fair. They only did it once. But you know what? That was very recent that they did it.
So they went against Tekin. They took away the timing.
Yeah.
And they changed the rules away from open speedo.
Yeah.
And that's great. I think personally I like the stock racing better at blinky.
Yeah.
But we got to have a fair blinky.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't, I think personally from a manufacturing state, but this is the same rule again with motors. I mean, if a stock motor is different, you're always going to have people going to it for some reason.
That's true.
How is it that we can have stock motors that are supposed to be the same specs, and they're all different? And same thing with speedos. Yeah. Somehow, we're finding speedos that are electronically better than others.
Yeah. Yeah, that is very, very true.
And you have a circuit board.
And also there is internal resistance in those speedos, besides timing, too.
And that could be it. Maybe, for whatever reason, the hardware's better in that Hobby Wing.
Yeah.
What is it, the FETs or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah.
They're higher quality, maybe?
I don't know.
And I don't know much about this new Gen 2 yet. I know that it looks pretty.
Yeah.
I know that it has the access for the hot wire at the top, and I think that's a great feature.
Yep.
I remember burning, and you never burn them up, but how many times do you have to resolder your receiver plugs because you're in and out so many times?
We had a trick for that.
You're wearing out the plug though.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yep. We had a trick for that though. What you did was you take a little piece of strapping tape and you put it around the whole plug, and you poke the little holes out, and you had a little tab you pulled from that tape, but not nearly.
But I wore out the metal connections inside the plug.
Yeah, definitely. But here's another thing. A lot of us already went away from it. Now, are we expected to go back to it? I mean, if it's absolutely the best of the best, yeah, we're going to go back to it. But if they've only caught up, they're not going to get a lot of that business back. They got to be, I don't want to say leaps and bounds in front of Hobby Wing, LRP, or Orion, or whatever, but they got to be noticeably better for people to switch to sell their brand new LRP flows to get the brand new Tekin. And I don't like the way Tekin's releasing their stuff, to be honest with you. All that's available right now is the new RS Gen 2. They don't even have a Pro out yet. Now the Pro, the difference between the regular RS and the Pro and the Gen 1 was, besides the motor situation to be able to go as fast as you want, which you didn't need that anyways, because if you were going down to a 4 or 5, you're an absolute mongoloid and shouldn't be racing our cars anyways.
No, unless you're
unless you're 12 Mod 12 scale or whatever. But the internal resistance was lower in the Pro than the regular RS. Not that many people knew that, and it was. I don't even know if it's noticeable. It was noticeable in the numbers, but I don't know if it's noticeable in the feel.
Yeah, I'd be curious on the new one. Without having one, it's hard.
But I heard they're not calling the new RS an RS Pro. I think they're calling it something different. So now you're buying a beginner speed controller if you buy the brand new RS.
You're buying the same equal to what the RS was before.
No, yeah, it's new hardware though.
Yeah, but you're buying an equal.
Yeah, but then they're going to have an RS Pro, and then I heard they're going to have a 1S RS.
Oh, really?
I heard, which
should have the booster built in, hopefully, and all that garbage. Yeah.
Well, guess what? I'm buying a few 3.1s because I know what I'm dealing with. The Hobbywing 3.1s.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new product. You never know. It could turn out to be the best thing out.
If it's got a smaller footprint though than the Hobbywing 3.1, I might be interested.
Well, is the 3.1 the new Hobbywing?
Brand new, just came out on the 15th.
Yeah, because I know that's supposed to have a smaller footprint than the old 3.
3, yeah. Yeah, this is brand new. It just, I don't even think Wheata's got it yet, and he's sponsored by him.
Yeah. The one thing with Tekin here, I'd be curious to see if the throttle profiles are smoother. They had the adjustable throttle.
That was a big issue.
In an off-road, I never felt that my Tekin was as good as the other ones because of the throttle profile. The speed control's fine.
Yeah.
But the throttle profiles weren't as linear or didn't feel.
Yeah. Here's an example. This happened just a month ago. You were there. We were at 510, and my dad was having problems up the rear end because the throttle was jerky with the Tekin. He went with the generic Hobbywing V2. I don't even know what it's called, but it was a generic version of it.
Yeah, it's like a $60 version you're buying online. I've seen it.
Yeah. It was Hobbywing's rejects basically, and my dad put that in his car, and it was so much better that he was amazed. Now he's switching. He bought a Flow for something.
Okay.
But he's going away from Tekins because how much better it was. That generic V2, that was 2 steps below what they have now. That was so much better than the original Tekin RS with the latest, greatest software. And it's not that he had the software wrong.
It was smoother, and that's the question. Is the new one any smoother? Is the hardware better on the inside? They built the first...
I'll tell you what, it better be.
They built the first one around Boost.
Yeah,
they
did.
The second one going to be smoother?
Yep, and it better be. Period. And it better be smoother than everybody else to get everybody else to switch back.
Well, that or they're going to have to play price games.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh, you price that speed controller $30 less, you're going to get the business.
Yeah, and that's what originally, you remember when
you'll Walmart the hell out of everybody.
When Tekin came out, they were $150 or around that range.
Yeah.
And you had your LRPs at $220.
Yeah.
It was a different price range.
Oh, yeah, and definitely. Yeah. Well, that's enough about that. We'll leave that as an open-ended question. Because you know what? I can't say that it's too late for me, because if they are truly better, I will switch back.
Yeah, and I think everybody feels that way, but it's going to take time. It's not going to be an overnight switch.
No, it's not, and I think they took too long. I really do think they took too long. Because they've been giving us the same...
Maybe it's that good, though.
Yeah, I don't...
Because of it, it's that good.
Like I said, what was it, 2006 they came out with the RS? It was
a while ago.
It was something like 06 or 07. It was 06 or 07, because that is their original brushless speed controller.
Yeah.
So it was 06 or 07. But like I said, if they keep going on their platform, think about it, 2020, they'll come out with Gen 3. Think about how long away that is.
I'm okay with that if the product's still good.
I'm not. Because you know what? I still feel like a kid on Christmas when that A main package comes, and I got an expensive piece in there.
But
I love that feeling.
Because of all the announcing you do, you usually run one class.
That's true.
But not buying 5 of them.
No, in the wintertime when I'm not doing announcing, I'm running 2-3 classes.
Oh.
And then when I'm not running one of my races, let's say I'm going to full throttle for a club race, or if I'm doing the fair race or whatever, I'm going to be running more than one class. So, but yeah, no, I get your point there. A lot of times I am only running one. So now let's end this podcast. Let's do a preview for Super Saturday Electric Series, round number 2. Rick's Hobby Farm, May 4th.
So I think the first thing we should ask is there going to be snow on the track?
No, it's already gone.
Oh my.
This Friday, Nate Smith is going out there with a Bobcat. I hope he doesn't get too overzealous with it. Yeah. Saturday, we're laying her out. We're laying out a layout. Then all of a sudden, then we should be good. Then we just gotta hope that the rain holds out. No rain. We just gotta hope, because the track is at an angle, and it's got drainage. Good. We just gotta. I don't think the ground can hold much more.
I don't know that you need to change the layout. The problem is you're going to run into such an aggressive.
We have to change a couple little things. We don't have to change the whole layout by any means. There's a couple of things that need to be addressed.
I worry about the surface not packing well after.
Yeah,
bad for weather.
One issue I had, yeah, exactly. I think we'll do it correctly. One issue I had was like one of the doubles. It comes towards the driver's stand, which is fine, but the pit is so deep, if you don't make that double, you literally lose your car in it.
And it's got to be, and that's the thing. It's got to be 10 scale friendly.
Yeah, and the 10 scale side is, see, a lot of people didn't know, we're not running the full track. There is a 10 scale shortcut we're making. If we ran the full scale with 10 scale, we'd be looking at minute 10-second laps.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That would suck.
That's the thing I've always liked so far, at least out of the first year of your series.
Yeah.
That every track we ran was a pure 10 scale track.
Well, not pure, but very, very 10
What,
scale.
Duluth was the biggest?
No, well, loose nuts too.
I suppose that was. That one did have that triple or quad or whatever it was.
So that's a triple.
Yeah, that was tough.
You had the option to double single.
My car needed wings for that one.
Yeah, yeah. But, I think the biggest issue is we got to hold for the rain to hold out. And then the Minnesota Nitro Series will be going there for their second round the weekend of May 18th. They will be running full track, and I don't think there'll be any worries about weather. Well, there's always the worry of rain.
But not a worry of snow.
Yeah, no worry of snow, I don't think. But the snow, I talked to an over-the-road trucker yesterday, and the snow was basically gone out of New Richmond, which is very positive. With a few warm days, ground getting softer, thawed, whatever.
Now they're saying 70s for the weekend.
Hopefully we'll get it going. They're having their first club race on Sunday, this coming Sunday.
That's good, because they'll be able to get at least some track time to find any issues.
Yep, exactly. Hopefully the group will be smart enough to find the issues.
What have you had as far as pre-registers?
So far, believe it or not, four-wheel drive modified buggy is my biggest class so far.
Really? There's a lot of people out that direction that run that, isn't there?
No, it's just people buying it because I think one of the reasons I started my series was so I could consistently run four-wheel drive modified buggy because that's my absolute favorite class. But I think it became a niche because people don't want to run it on a weekly basis because a lot of the people haven't ran A-scale nitro buggy or A-scale on-road. they don't know what real expensive is, but they see four-wheel drive modified buggy is an expensive class. But if they're only running it once a month in a series, they're willing to buy a buggy just for that. But right now we're looking at about 30 pre-entries and we're a week away. So my projected amount of entries is going to be about 80.
Yeah, a lot of people don't.
A lot of people wait till the last week to pre-register for one.
And some people just wait to see what the weather is going to be.
Some people wait. Some people don't know how to pre-register. Some people aren't part of RC Tech's or a forum board. They just show up and they pay. Mm-hmm. You know, you got that group. But yeah, one thing we are looking at, like I said earlier in the cast, we're looking light on stock buggy. We need, if you're entering, we need at least one more. And then we need more Pro Light buggies. We need at least 2 more of those. Pro Light's a short course buggy for you people who don't know. But I think a lot of people will get a decent amount of Pro Lights for this one. Because people want to warm up for the Nitro.
For the Nitro Series, exactly.
Good, for the Nitro Series, we got 15 of them. Which is fantastic. For my series, it's not really taken off because I really don't have a rules standpoint going on. I'm kind of curious to see where the class is going to go before I get hard set rules going. You know what I mean?
It'd be a good thing for people that want to get the runtime on the track, see what the surface is like, tires. It'd be a good test tune for any of the Nitro Series guys.
Exactly. So, yeah. So, and again, we got some great racing coming up so in the month of May. So, keep your eyes to the Facebook pages, the forum boards. Hopefully this podcast takes off in the state the way I want it to. Hopefully maybe next time we'll add a third member. We'll see what happens. Guest hosts are always fun.
Yeah.
How we're doing this is we're recording it through Skype. So we can have anybody in the country. I mean, who doesn't have Skype? If you don't, you should be ashamed of yourself. My grandmother has Skype, alright? She's 84 years old and doesn't know how to barely turn her computer on, and she works Skype like a champ.
Nice.
So, alright, that should be it for the night, unless you want to add anything else, Greg.
Oh, I think that's good for a first one. We can save some more for later.
Yeah, we're at 2 hours now. We might edit this down, we might not, and we might have 2 hours of solid material. We'll see.
Yeah, we covered a lot on the first one.
Yeah, we did. We might save some for later. We could always save some for another podcast.
That sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, that's true. It's easier just to cut and delete. Cut it and leave it on the crapper floor. All right, so until next time, I'm Joe Zer Jr.
This is Greg.
And we have ran out of talent.